Okay. This video is going to be a quick one, I promise. So I just want to try making my own pastry dough one last time before I just finally give up and start buying that at the store. I'm going to get off my high horse, whatever I'm doing, about wanting to cut back on the butter, and just going to use what the recipes actually call for. Flour and butter are pretty similar when it comes to terms to weight and volume. So, well, let me correct that. Not exactly. A stick of butter is approximately a cup of flour by weight. And puff pastry dough, they should be equal weights of each. So half a cup of butter is roughly 1 cup of flour. But it's a lot easier to just think 1 stick, 1 cup of flour to make those parts equal if you need to. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. Unlike yesterday where I did a cup of flour and half a stick of butter. Yeah, so this video is going to have 4 parts. I'm going to make the dough, I'm going to form the dough, I'm going to make some little pastries out of it, and then I'm going to cook them. And then maybe I'll burn my mouth eating one, just to say I did that. So maybe there'll be 4 or 5 parts to this. So, the first step is make the dough. Got a little food processor. I'm going to start with the cup of flour. It was a tiny bit more than a cup, but whatever. Alright, so a cup of flour. And I'm going to take my stick of butter and cut this into smaller pieces. This would probably work better if this wasn't completely cool out of the fridge. Or if I put a cutting board underneath it, but whatever. I'll just pretend I did both of those. But you know, I just grabbed this out of the fridge, so this is probably as hard as butter is going to get. But hey, when they say a knife's good or something's smooth, it cuts like butter, right? Well, this is what that expression has been talking. Oh, you can't see what I'm doing, can you? Talking to myself here. Well, obviously I'm talking to myself, there's no one else around, but you get it. Put those right in. Okay, and in addition to that, might as well. The whole point of this one is to not cut back on the butter, so I might as well get the full stick of butter experience. My idea is I want to see if this actually does puff up a little bit more than the other doughs I've been working with lately. Because a lot of the dough I've been working with has been really biscuit-like, and I wonder if that dryness is just because there's too much flour. I mean, flour is like a drying agent in that sense. Or a caking agent, I don't know. Right, so in addition I'm going to add half a teaspoon of salt. And because the idea of this one is for pastries, I am going to add, 1 tablespoon of sugar. And now I'm going to mix this all together. So the pieces all incorporated together. There's not really any powder left. There's a bunch of very small clumps. And I'm going to start spooning in some ice water little by little. Probably have used a bigger spoon. Some high quality H2O. It's definitely forming together in pieces, but nowhere near as much as I need it to. I think that was good. Okay. So let's get out some cellophane cling wrap. That might have been a little bit too much water I added at the end, actually. The dough's a little wetter than I feel like it should be. Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens with this. I mean, being in the fridge will dry it out, so it's supposed to be in the fridge like about 20 minutes at this point. Maybe I'll leave it there a little bit longer. Try to... Actually, it's not that, but it's okay. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going to wrap this up, and I'm going to take it out in 20 minutes to fold it, and put it back in for another 20 minutes to a half hour to actually start preparing some little cookies or pastries, whatever you want to call them. Alright. Alright, so it's just been a half hour. Taking the dough out of the fridge. Luckily it didn't harden up too much, so it looks like I'll be able to work on it and start doing those folds that pastry dough needs. Just going to get some flour on the surface I'm going to work on, a little bit on my rolling pin. That might be too much flour. Now that I think about it, let's move some of this to the side. The whole point of this video is to see what I can do with using more butter than flour, not trying to add all that butter back, all that flour back into this. Alright. Now for the folds in pastry dough, you need the dough to be about 3 times longer than it is wide, or 3 times wider than it is long. Basically, one side needs to be about 3 times bigger than the other, and you're aiming for more of a rectangle-like shape. And I mean, I'm not that much of a perfectionist, if you can't tell by my cooking by now, so I don't really, not going to focus too much on it being a rectangle. I'm going to focus a little bit on it being a rectangle. Alright. That's not 3 times longer. Maybe that's about 3 times longer. I'm not going to pull out a ruler. And yeah, so the first step is... And, oh well, right, I'm supposed to brush off any excess flour that gets on. Every video I watched, they did this with a brush. I'm sure you could just do it with your hand to get the exact same results. When I was looking up pastry dough recipes, though, I did actually see they made 2 different flours. One was extremely butter heavy, and the other was just more of a regular dough like this, or maybe even with a little bit less butter than this one. And I think it was called a laminated dough. I don't know, it's like you fold one of the layers into, like how I'm doing this now, like you kind of stack them and fold them, and it just incorporates the butter completely separately. I will say this dough is a lot softer, which I wasn't expecting, because even though there's more butter and less flour, well, I mean, same amount of flour, just more butter. I thought the more butter would make it harden up a lot more in the fridge. Yeah, I don't really have any flour on the counter now. All that I just put down already got incorporated into here, but it's not sticking too bad to my countertop, so I'm just going to leave it alone for now. With these layers and these folds, the dough does gain some more elasticity, so as you can see, as I'm rolling it out, it's actually trying to snap back to its original shape. If that happens to you, just roll it a little bit past and then let it snap back like it wants to. That's what I've been doing. And as you can see, after each layer, I'm pretty sure that, each trifold, I'm pretty sure that was number 3. Some more rolling pin at least. Move that to the side. I'm rotating it 90 degrees to the side, and that's just to let these layers I'm making alternate. I don't know if the whole point of that is to create air pockets, and that's what makes pastries as fluffy as they are. But that's part of the process of making pastry dough. I think you're supposed to do about 5 or 6 of these layers that I'm doing. I'm pretty sure that was 4, so I'll do another 2. And then after this folding stage, it's going to go in the fridge for another half hour. Interesting, my dough's starting to tear. I might have to redo this. Unless that tearing is from it grabbing this flour and then becoming too dry. Then I'm making it worse right now by adding flour to the table. Counter. Alright. So, now that it's folded, that is going to get about another half hour in the fridge. Then I'm going to roll it out, thicker than I did with those tarts I tried to make yesterday. I'm just going to get it rolled out, and then I'm going to split it. Half of them are going to be walnut and honey. The other half are going to be almond and sugar. Then I'm going to bake them for about a half hour on 400 or 425, I'm not too sure yet. I'll decide on one of them within the next half hour. Alright, so I'll see you in a couple seconds. Alright, another half hour has passed. And as you can see, I floured my counter a little bit more. So let's roll this out and see how many I don't even know to call them cookies or pastries. Well, they're probably not cookies, because I think if I just added like some baking soda or something to this, or I don't know, maybe just vanilla extract and some chocolate chips, then I'd be working with some cookie dough. I probably would need a little bit more sugar than I added also. I don't really know. Never make cookies from scratch like that. Oh, let me preheat my oven. I didn't actually put any thought into what temperature I'm going to go with, so I'll just do 400. I'd rather have to cook them longer than burn them, I guess. I don't want to make this too thin, but I do want to be able to get like at least like 20 or so little squares out. Well, actually I think I already have enough now to get about 20 or so squares, so I can probably stop soon. Unfortunately, it doesn't feel like I'm going to, so. Alright, that should be okay. Alright, so let's just start by cutting this in half. Actually, no, I'll start my egg wash. Alright. Oh, is my rolling pin in the way? Sorry about that. Knife, I don't know if the knife's in the way or not. Now, I think for an egg wash, you're supposed to actually add a little bit of water to the egg, but I don't think I've ever actually done that. I don't know if it's just not needed or I'm rebellious. Obviously, that last part was a joke. I'm not that rebellious. And I don't know why on video, the egg wash has such a nicer yellow color than it really does in, like I'm looking at this, it barely looks like it changed color at all. But I remember when I was looking at one of the videos I did, it had such like a darker yellower color on film. So if you're doing something like this and dough doesn't look as yellow as it might appear right now on video, don't sweat it. Now, one of the things I watched, they poked a bunch of holes in it. Actually, I'll do that after I cut it a little. First, I'm just going to cut it in half. Alright. This half is going to be one, obviously. And then that one will be the other. This one's a little bit bigger. He's a little closer. That's good. So I will start first by just no, I'll cut them first to size. Just gonna take a whole walnut, press it down. Actually, no, I can't do that yet. I do have to make the holes first. So I would say maybe don't go all the way through when you do this. I don't know if the point is to go all the way through or not. I mean, I feel like if I go all the way through, it's going to be a place for the air to go through and escape, and it's not going to puff up. And I think the idea is that I want these to puff up. I don't know, I just saw a video where they did this, and I thought it looked nice. And with the ones I did yesterday, I did this, and I actually enjoyed them. They came out good. I mean, I wouldn't be doing something this similar right now if I didn't enjoy what came out. And yeah, I'm not going like geometrically at all. I'm just kind of trying to cover the entire thing in like little circles. Now for the other half. I mean, some of them are going all the way through because I'm not really taking my time, so maybe I'll see what parts come better. If I can see the holes on the bottom, that means it went all the way through, and I'll see which one puffed up more. And I'll try to remember to say on video which ones puffed up more, the ones that I put all the way through, or just the ones that I poked part way through. I mean, I guess the difference if the air is going to escape through all the layers or just some of the layers, so I feel like poking part way through or all the way through is pretty much the same thing, actually. Alright. So now that I got egg washing holes, I'm going to place walnuts and just space them out a little bit, and I'm going to press them in as much as I can. Looking for larger pieces of walnut. Alright. some space in between them, and just press them in. I'm hoping that by pressing it in, it'll actually compress the dough underneath the walnut and kind of force the outside to puff up more around it, and it'll kind of cook them in place. And my oven's preheated. Yep, and I just split that walnut. There's our 1, 2, 4, 8, 10. Good. Alright, so I'm going to get 10 cookies out of this one. And this one I'm pretty much going to do the same thing. I'm just going to put 2 almonds in a V shape for each cookie. And just really press them in. This one's definitely thicker. This one, if this side comes out better, then all it means is I made the dough too thin for these ones. Okay. Now I'm going to cut them. For all I know, these are too big for what I'm actually trying to do. And if these rise at all, it's really just going to be from air in between the layers. There's no baking soda, baking powder, there's no yeast, there's nothing like that in this. Oh, I thought maybe I should have done the sugar first actually before I'm probably using too much sugar right now. It's just the sugar's really fine and I can barely see it. Alright, that's going to be all I'm using. That was several pinches, I forgot to even bother trying to count. And now these walnut ones are getting honey. Okay. And now let's finish cutting. Probably could have made these smaller and made more of them. Or at the same time, I could have made the dough thicker and not rolled it out as much. They kind of look like those club crackers from... Was it Keebler? Does Keebler make the club crackers? Oh, I wonder if I fold them, how that'll work. You know, just as an experiment, I'm just going to fold this one and see how that comes out. I'm just curious. That one might be garbage. And just for equality, I'll do the same thing with one of these almond ones. And I guess I'll egg wash the outside of these two. Okay. Let's get a baking sheet. My sheet, I believe, is not non-stick. So I'm going to do some foil and spray. This isn't big enough, actually. I need a bigger one. Sorry about all that noise. This one's too big, but right there. Oh, you know what? Maybe this pan wasn't too big. Maybe this one's a good size for what I'm doing. Actually. Alright, now I'm glad I didn't go with the one smaller than this. Okay. And in the oven they go. And I'm going to set a timer for 22 minutes. and then I maybe check on them before that timer's up, and have another couple minutes to let them go if I don't think they're ready yet. So, alright, so just like every other video segment, in this one I'm starting a little early because I just took a look. I mean, I set the oven for 22 minutes and it's been like 18 or 19 or something, so it's pretty much 20. I just took a look at them and they're actually looking pretty good. A bunch of them did puff up, especially the almond ones, not the walnut ones. So, yeah. Oh, you're not pointing down enough to see what I just did. It's tempting to put them back in the oven and redo that reveal, but hopefully this will be equally dramatic. Yeah, so as you can see, some of the thicker ones that were near the middle, like these two and these three, did puff up kind of how I was expecting. The folded ones actually look really good, and I kind of wish I did that with more of them. So I'm going to save those. And these were too flat, but it did still puff up. So I think the dough I've been working with, it does need all that butter. And so I've been basically compromising, not even compromising, but sabotaging myself. So maybe I will actually keep making my own dough and just stop trying to cut back on the butter. Yeah, so I'm going to let these sit for another couple minutes and then eat a couple, but I will move one of each to a plate so they cool quicker. Let's go with this one. It's a little puffy, but not too much. And again, as you can tell from the color between them, they were in on the same tray, the same time, everything the same. This is just the honey and some of the sugar, I guess, where I put too much on. Alright. So yeah, they definitely did puff up nicely. I just dropped some crumbs on the floor. Yeah, let's pick up now, actually. I was going to say I'll just sweep them up later. Let's do the walnut one first. Nope, that's too hot. Let's try the almond one first. It's definitely very fluffy. Yeah. As you can see, you can even see the layers where it did kind of swirl back and forth from the folds. I definitely like these more than the ones I made yesterday. And I guess I gotta stop trying, I gotta stop pretending I'm healthy and cutting back on butter, because I think that's really all it is. I think ideally, I probably would have wanted all of them to be more this size. I almost want to cover these with more sugar because, well actually, oh, there's that timer I was talking about. Alright, so I definitely like the flavor of this one more, but that's because, I mean, honey and walnuts versus sugar and almonds. Honey and walnuts is more towards what I like anyway. Being flatter that they were, I can kind of taste that it is like more together. So I think it's a combination. Two things is, one, I rolled half of this too thin, and two, I just need to have more butter in my dough from now on. No, they're both tasty in their own ways, actually. I was going to say I like one over the other, but it'd be difficult to compare them, honestly. So when I eventually do make any other videos with dough, I'll probably be making my own dough. Maybe I'll skip that in the videos, considering I've done that pretty much every video I've done except one I've made dough. I think I did skip it in the one yesterday. Alright, so yeah. I guess the summary is, if you have some issues with the consistency or fluffiness of your dough, add more butter. And don't roll it so thin. That's what I learned here today, at least, and I'm sure that's probably common knowledge to anyone who did any actually kind of research or culinary education. I have neither. So thanks for watching.